There was this one incident that happened actually in our chapter, I think it was last semester, and no one knew any of the details about it. It just was not even addressed, and it was like the party that did it wasn't even held accountable for it, and that really like upset me. And I was just confused, and I just didn't understand why it wasn't addressed and why it happened, and then it was like slipped under the rug and no one talked about it again. And I was like, that should not be how this was handled.
Sexual assault is really any unwanted advances, and the vast majority of the time it is guys being too aggressive towards girls. And I think if there's no dialogue about it, if there's no speaking, I think that's where a lot of lines are crossed.
Part of the reason that sexual assault is reported disproportionately higher in Greek communities than it is on the rest of campus has a lot to do with the culture. You take the hookup culture that already exists in any college community and you kind of feed it by setting up these organized events where there's socials and guys and girls are kind of paired together, and it almost puts pressure on the guys and it makes it seem like there is some sort of end goal of going home with someone, and it shouldn't be about that.
Sexual assault always is like this gray area, like you deal with consent, you deal with, coercion and all these like weird statements that you know about them, but you don't really understand them to the extent that you need to.
I don't know, my freshman year I kind of was personally in a weird situation, and then after looking back on it, I realized that I don't know if it was sexual assault, but it definitely was something that I didn't want to happen. So to me, that was really scary. It was kind of like a reality check that this can so easily happen to you.
It's his responsibility to read that body language and take that step back when that illicit contact is not wanted. Often, and especially in the culture that we kind of grow up and exist in, there's a lot of victim blaming, which is to say, well, if she doesn't want that contact, she has to find a way to get out of it, or she shouldn't have wore something that enticed the guy, or she shouldn't have drank as many drinks as she had, when those are the type of things that shouldn't be what we look to consider why sexual assault should be prevented. We should actually be blaming the culture that young men grow up in, to where they know they won't be questioned about the issues of sexual assault.
Having a constant awareness. It has to be an everyday thing that you're talking about all the time, and I think that's the way a culture ends up changing. It can't be a one and done thing, and it's not an easy issue. It's not an issue that will be solved tomorrow. It's not an issue that will be solved a year from now. It's a constant reminder every day that you need to be talking about this.
As a Greek community, we have to acknowledge the harms that have been caused in Greek communities revolving the issue of sexual assault. Before you can actually address something, you have to acknowledge the root of its existence and, where the problem is and, hasn't been addressed, and have those conversations with, the entire campus around why sexual assault is wrong.
Like talking and engaging in conversation is the biggest and the first step to eliciting change here on campus.
Intervene, step in and do something about this. Protect the folks in our own campus community.
Start a conversation.
Getting the dialogue going.
Talk about it.
Informing the public, have that conversation.